Hello, hi everyone, good morning, and welcome back to the class of survey on world religion. And we are continuing with the religion class 5 on the study 3. So, we know that religion is not the same. There are different kinds of religion. And any academic effort, it tries to classify your subject or subjects or topics into certain category using parameters to separate each different distinctive topics. And that happens also with the study of religion, and we will continue our classification of religion. So how we deal with the distinctive characteristic of religion and what qualifies something as religion and how to classify these religions. So these are going to be the topics on study 3. Okay. As we've discussed, there are different distinctive belief systems, and there are some pseudo religion, and then religion per se, as we define something as religion that fits into this category. And there's something that's a little bit different than religion. I mean, the spirituality is something that's more recent. I mean, the word was there. We used it many years, but it took kind of different meaning for us, the theologians. Spirituality is it probably is bigger and wider than religion. And so we'll discuss what the difference is. We talked about superstition and the folk tales and the myth and sayings and proverbs. These are some of the examples of pseudo religion we have discussed in the excuse me, last class. And also there, like a philosophy, it takes a place of religion for some people. Ideology, same thing. And we do have something ethics. And for some people, they don't have religion, but they take ethics in to the level of religion and very religious about ethics. We talked about that. And then entertainment can be something close to the religion, but it's not religion. Fandom and trends and so on. And we have looked into what are some religious aspects of the things that we do or the culture. And there has to be some spiritual elements and mystical, supernatural, paranormal. These are the some of the aspects of religions. And transcendental, metaphysical, unempirical, and unsubstantial. And also religion, most of them are subjective. They have their own sayings or own understandings of the world and the surroundings, and it's usually exclusive to those who believe in that particular religious belief or faith, and then they have certain deity, whether it's one or many. It could be one God or many gods, or sometimes spirits as in place of deity. And there's a certain form of worship, whether it's regular or not. And there are certain rituals that you take as extraordinary acts that is assigned to a certain religion that has a certain particular meaning to the people who perform those rituals. And symbols, idioms, same thing, as either written or drawn symbols or man-made objects. For example, idol, it is a symbol of their spirit. And there are certain idioms that are particular to the given religion. The great example would be the cross. The cross in the church symbolizes Jesus Christ, and the Protestant or Catholic religion both use that cross as their symbol. And then each religion will have certain narratives, stories that are born out of their experience or the story of their god or gods, and then they have a story of their leaders. So these narratives kind of compass. It's a very critical part of any religious belief. Okay, sanctuary. Sometimes they do have open out the door sanctuary, but some has indoor sanctuary. It's a place of worship, and sometimes the sanctuary is equated or equal to the sacred places and items. So whether it's a primitive religion or developed religion, so-called, I don't fully agree with the terms, but I'll use it anyway for the sake of discussion. So whether it's a very simple religion or a complex religion, they say simple religion is rather primitive and complex, a little bit developed, but it's not. It's usually the case, but not always. So that's why I prefer not to use primitive to developed, and it kind of builds certain prejudice about the people who has faith in that, and people usually think that those who are believing in primitive religion or primitive faith are primitive people, which has very negative connotation to some people. Anyways, so whether it's primitive or developed, they would have certain sacred designated places that only limited people have access to. Or items. There are certain items that you are not supposed to touch, or is sacred and very kept in a very exclusive area or kept from the general public. So those are like items that we have. And you think of your religion, and these will apply, and you know what I'm talking about, right? Then we went into the religion versus spirituality, and religion is rather institutionalized, while the spirituality is more personal, individual, and then traditional versus not, and the confirmed versus unique. So each spirituality is very personal and individualized, and you may have a very different spirituality even within the same church. So that spirituality is more of your perception of religion, or how you practice religion. And so it is different, very unique. And religion is usually ritualized, and spirituality is more flexible and fluid. While religion is partial, spirituality tends to be holistic, but it's not always. Some spirituality is very partial and extreme. So this is just a general rule, not always though. Okay, religion is rather hypocritical, while the spirituality hypocritical, while the spirituality is genuine. It's not always, but I'm telling in general comparison. And religion has tendency to become closed within their system and organization and certain instructions. And spirituality is rather open compared to the organized religion. Religion tends to be formal, and spirituality is most of the time is casual. It doesn't have certain rules or forms. Religion is more form-centered, and spirituality focuses more on the meaning of the religion. So that's quite a big critical difference. And the religion is usually superficial. I mean, at the beginning of the religion, any religion will be genuine, and it's very I would say truthful. But as the time goes by, there's a tendency in any religion, whether it's a Christianity, Islam, or folk, even the folk religion, it becomes kind of superficial and formal, and people get used to it, and it becomes a culture, and you are kind of born into that culture. When that happens, your religion becomes superficial because it's not yours. It's more of happens from the culture. And this, on the contrary, spirituality is more essential. And okay, so religion is more of ideological, while spirituality tends to be more pragmatic. And so, the spirituality is focused on your more the practical side of life, while the most of religion starts with something that's ideological of the thoughts and the theology and things. Okay, religion tends to be formal, while spirituality is rather informal. So that would be a very clear distinction between religion and spirituality. Okay. Now we'll have these are some other major critical barometers that separates religion to religion. So now we have compared what the pseudo religion is, what the religion is, what the spirituality is. So those are difference between something that's called a religion and something that is more similar to the religion, or but not the same thing. So we have made that distinction so far, and now within the religion itself, there are certain distinctions on the religions. So each religion is different, It's distinctive. It's unique. And how do we academically separate them and classify them so people will have a certain idea of grouping those religions? So we'll start then, okay? First, some religions are revealed. It's by revelation, and some religions are purely human invention, and it's man-made religion. So we know, for example, Buddhism. Buddhism is a total invention of the person named Buddha, and he becomes the center of the religion. Not only the center of religion, but he becomes the establishment. He becomes the leader, and he becomes the teacher. And he didn't claim this Buddhism, his idea as a religion when he started it, but later people kind of add things to it. Then they have certain things, the books that Buddha has written as a scripture, which was not intended to be a scripture, but just word of teachings. So, as time goes by, this idea of Buddha, the teachings of Buddha, or their understandings of Buddha becomes more like a religion. And it takes a turn to make it more of organized religion. So those are the example. Buddhism is a good example of man-made religion. On the other hand, Judaism, Islam, and Christianity are the main or major religion that belongs to the revealed. Revealed means the God or gods intentionally come to their subjects or the creations, human beings, and then they reveal their presence. And thus, the worship becomes something that is natural, because when you face God or gods, you have certain feeling of reverence, because they are not usually visible, and they are usually more powerful than you are. When somebody or someone is more powerful than you are, then you develop a sense of reverence, a sense of awe. Awe meaning not only the surprise, but the feeling of facing something that is great and bigger. So that's how the religion is started. They don't call it a religion. It's just the natural response to God who reveals himself or herself. So that's revealed religion. Okay, then primitive and developed. I discussed just a few moments ago. This is a perspective from social evolutionist. Social evolutionist believes that society evolves itself as the time goes by. By the word evolve, evolve and develop, see, or the develop, has the same root, EVOL. So that means getting better. So the presumption of a social evolutionist, just like a natural evolutionist who believes that the animals, plants, and these things evolve by itself to become more complex and more adopted subjects to the nature. With the same theory, they apply that concept of evolvement to the society. And so it's a social evolutionist. They believe society evolves. When that is your the presumption, your worldview, your academic base, then you would say primitive, meaning it's less developed, and therefore it's not that complex, simple, but they kind of put the connotation of negative connotation to the primitive, which not only is a simple, it's less of the value, because people usually value something that's developed. So we use developed, like a developed country, developed person, meaning they are mature and grown and worth more than undeveloped or primitive. So there's these socialist or social evolutionists, they kind of divide primitive to the developed. For example, of a primitive religion, or be like a folk religion, shamanism, animism, and totemism, and those things. So these are not developed religion. On the contrary, Judaism, Islam, and Christianity, Buddhism are more of developed and organized. So usually the organized, systemized, institutionalized religion belongs to developed, and if not, then it's primitive. Okay. So there's like an unorganized religion versus institutionalized. Institutionalized, again, it means organized. Unorganized, uninstitutionalized. So is it structured? Do they have certain order of leaders, from like a high priest, low priest, then and then servants who serve that ritual and worship and these things? And when they are and then the not only the system but theology, the doctrines, do they have a very complex doctrine or not? No. So shamanism have very simple theology. There are many gods in very different form and shape. And then if they intervene into your life to cause either blessing or curse. And when curse happens, you have done something wrong to these spirits or gods. And there's a remedy or repair or resolution to resolve that issue between you and spirits or gods. And the shaman is the one who's in between, like a medium. So that person has the power and authority to communicate with these gods or spirits. And then you come to this shaman and give appeasement or offerings, usually in the form of money or the things of value. Then the shaman goes to the spirits or gods and tell them to forgive or resolve whatever the issues are, and then shaman tells these people who come to come for that resolution. And so that's a theology, and it's very simple. There's nothing more to that. But in the I mean, if you're a Christian, you know that there are very complex but integrated theology. Okay, this polytheism and monotheism. When you have theo, it means of something of God. Theo or theos. So monotheism, polytheism. Monotheism means there is only one God. Polytheism believes in many gods. And that kind of distinguishes the Middle Eastern religion, which is Judaism and basically Islam belief. They believe in one God and only God. And the rest of the gods is just evil spirits. So that's basically the monotheism. They believe only one God. And they get very angry when somebody talks about many gods. That's why the Christians and Islam have conflicts, because the difference of theology. Christians say there's one God who is in three in one, which Islam cannot accept. Their theology says very different, and our theology, the Christians, because I'm a pastor, we believe in three gods who are the same God. So it's basically monotheism, but from Islam's perspective, it's going to be polytheism, believing in many gods. If you have many gods, the problem would be that which one are you going to entertain, or which one are you going to worship? So people have the difficulties choosing which God is the most powerful one. And they kind of jump from this God to another God when they do not resolve your issues. On the other hand, it's like a shopping. If you have just one brand to the certain particular product, you have no other choice but to buy that product. But if you have many different brands, for example, ice creams have hundreds of different kind of brands. So when you have those choices, you have a lot more choices that are available, and you can make your favorable choice. So that's kind of advantage of having polytheism, believing in many gods. And not only you have to choose. You don't have to choose one, because there are many gods. You can believe 2, 3, or more gods, because polytheism does not limit you to believe in one. But if you're the medium or shaman who's doing the kind of mediation or the communication between general public and then God, then you have to choose one God, even though you are polytheist who believe in many gods. You as a medium or shaman, you have one God to serve. So that's That's kind of choice that you have to make as a shaman. But general public, general believers, they don't have to do that. So that's polytheism to the monotheism. Okay. And the funny thing, interesting, not funny, but the interesting fact is in Buddhism, for example, the initial original Buddhism, they didn't have the form of deity in their doctrine. It kind of comes later on as the Buddhism mixed with the local folk religions and other religions they had. So when that happens, the gods from the folk religion kind of comes into uh, the Buddhist belief system. But in the original Buddhism, they didn't have the deity in their narratives. Okay, the next parameter, or the standard, or the measurement for the classification of religion would be purity. How pure is a certain religion? Most religions are syncretistic, meaning okay, let's say we have religion A, but no religion can stand by itself, because there is going to be religion B, C, and the base religion D. So no religion stands by itself. And when your religion A is kind of mixed with other religions, we say it's a syncretistic, meaning it has been mixed. It's been contaminated. And this happens to all the religions, no exception. Even Christianity, when it comes to a certain region, for example, in Latin America, in Philippines, it has been mixed with the local beliefs, the folk beliefs. Same thing happened in Korea as well. When the Christianity came in, the shamanism was very, very strong in Korea, and most rural area, which is more than 90% of population at the time of Christianity came in. As time goes by, when there were like missionaries from Europe and America, they were able to kind of keep it to its purity. But when they left and there's not less influence or control from those missionaries, then the Christianity become mixed with the general public or general mass, and then it changes its course, and then it becomes more of shamanistic. And not only the shamanism, there's that Confucius ideal. It's a very strong, and it's like a backbone of the Korean philosophy or worldview. And even though it changes in form, that basic idea, the worldview is embedded in Korean people. And because of that, Christianity become more like a Confucius philosophy, ideology plus Christian form. So it's mixed. It has been. And our job is, as a Christian or whatever your religion is, to try to purify your religion as it was, as pure as possible. So that's why we will have reformation after reformation. Reformation is caused by basically two things: to avoid this syncretism or mix with other religion. That's one thing. And then second cause for the Reformation is the new revelation or new understanding of the message and the contents and the scripture or the theology of the particular religion. In that sense, each religion develops, it improves, it gets better, it should get better. And when that happens, there comes the so-called Reformation. But going back to the topic of purity, it is critical and important to keep your religion as pure as possible. So this is another sort of distinction of the religion. So many religions are the product of syncretistic work. Okay, this people may have different opinion about this kind of distinction. There's like a major religion and minor religion, depending on the popularity. So more believers, it becomes major religion. Less believers, it becomes minor religion. It is hard to say where we draw that line. Is it like a several million? Do you have to have a several million, or is that like a billion? Would that be enough? Or you should have 100 million. So there's no given measure, no academically objective measure to divide minor and major, but you kind of have sense of who the major religions are and who the minor religions are. The same thing is either mainstream or marginal. Mainstream and marginal, that is a term that would apply to a given culture, to the given population that you're studying. For example, in America, the mainstream would be the evangelicals. Evangelicals are the mainstream Christianity, while the fundamental or the Catholics, they are also considered mainstream, but not the mainstream. And then there are some marginals within the Protestant religion. Sometimes those Pentecostals believers, they were considered like a marginal. In America, Baptists are the mainstream. Okay? So there are these distinctions within the given religion, whether it's a denomination or whether religion itself. There's the term mainstream and the marginal. Okay. We'll look into this folk religions. We'll cover this folk religion later on when we go into the different kind of world religion. In that section, that study, as you see we will say that there's a folk religion, and then there's a Buddhism, and we study Islam, and then we are gonna go over the Protestant Christianity, then Catholic Church. So these are going to be the subject that we are going to cover later on. But I'll just try to give some idea about folk religion. Animism is the belief on the living things, the spirit of animals and plants and all these things. So something that is moved. And the totemism is a belief and worship of the things that usually do not have life. It's not a living thing. So like a large stone, a totemism, or big river, kind of totemism. But worship of the celestial objects, like a sun, moon, is sort of totemism, but different kind. So worship of sun, worship of stars and moon, it's a little different, but still, it's in the larger category. You can say it's part of totemism, but usually totemism means you're gonna worship the natural things that are lifeless, or you make a totem. For example, in North America, usually in Canada, there's a large tall totem made out of big chunk of wood. So that's like a typical totemism. We'll go into detail later on when we come. Shamanism, there has to be a shaman who performs as a medium between the believers and gods. Ancestor worship, many cultures believe the ancestors, when they die, they become spirits, and they hover around you, and either it's gonna bless you or harm you or curse you depending on how you act. So that belief helps you to put your act straight and live a good life. And people are usually afraid of their ancestor spirits. And I mean, this form of worship is very popular in Korea. Even though you do not have any other religion, you may do this ancestor worship, giving that offering table, like in every New Year, and then full moon festivity. So that's the thing. I mean, they have ancestors' names written, and then bring the food on the table, and they bow down to do all these forms of rituals and worship. So it's really a form of worship, and they try to entertain the spirits of ancestors. There are more to the list of folk religions, but I try to cut it short because, like I said, we are going into details later on. The so-called mainstream religions. These are generally accepted among the scholars of religion who studies religion. They generally accept this. It's like the mainstream religions is Protestant Christianity. It depends on who you have who's the the organization, but usually it's somewhere like a 3 billion to 4 billion Protestant Christians, and Catholics 1.5 billion, somewhere there. So Protestant and the Catholic together, yeah, it's about like a 40 billion, I believe. No, 4 billion population. So it's a large portion of world population. So the major global religion as of today, in 21st century, 2020, would be Christianity, both Protestant and Catholic. So they believe in the Bible, the same Bible, and they believe in Jesus Christ resurrected, and they believe in the salvation through Jesus Christ, and they believe in the eternal place, heaven, where there's the God the Father. And they also believe in 3 gods in one. So it's something called Trinity. So that's common faith. There are different rituals, different system of organization, and then different church system, but still, it is considered the major religion in the world. Then the Islam is in size next to Christianity, and it's pretty close. I mean, according to some scholars, the number of Islams are very close to the number of Christians. And then Buddhism. Buddhism is the oldest of 3. The Christianity, Islam, and Buddhism. Buddhism is the oldest, and then it is difficult sometimes to calculate or the sum of how many Buddhists are there, because many Buddhists does not practice regular worship or participate like every Sunday. No, they don't have that kind of tradition. So it's difficult to sum up the numbers, but we know that Buddhism is the major religion. Beyond the genuine religion. So religion, the genuine, which means positive, whether it's a Christianity, Islam, and Buddhism, it tries to improve the human existence. It tries to give meaning to positive meaning to your existence. Basically, the religion says, do not live for yourself, but try to live for others, and try to benefit others rather than yourself. Don't become selfish. And there's a right and wrong, teaching of right and wrong. And those right is, it usually follows a general perception of human the generation. But these religions, fanatics, I mean, you can become a fanatic Christian. You can become a fanatic Islam. You can become fanatic Buddhist. So when somebody becomes fanatics, they are out of this world, and they kind of go out of their general mind. And usually fanatics does harm other people rather than give benefits or do the positive things for the for the people. So fanatics are another word. It's crazy, insane member of a certain belief. And the cults, there are cults in every religion, but we see mostly see the cults in Christianity. And the heresies similar. They go out of acceptable general doctrine and try to build their own doctrine, own system, own organization that is kind of separated from the major mainstream religion. And usually cults and heresies ends up doing something that is devious, something harmful, and something that only serves the leader of that particular cult or heresy. And then cults and heresies have tendency to pull people out of the society into their own system, own religion, and creating their own culture and own world that is very separated and distinctive from the general society. So when that happens, when a religion pulls out people from their own society, then it becomes dangerous. Sects are the pretty much similar to the heresy and cults, but sects are the small part or portion within the given religious system, and it's usually small in numbers, and they do not intend to expand or propagate their belief. They are comfortable within themselves, and they try to become more secretive. More secrecy is intended. So sects are more like a gathering together within themselves, separating and being more distinctive. And probably every religion would have this so-called sects. Okay. That was a study 3, and we have reviewed how we would distinguish or classify the religion, and so now we'll go into a lesson or a study 4. Any good religion, so-called developed religion, and if it's more organized and institutionalized religion, the religion is theologized. Theology usually applies to the Christian religion, but I'll use it as a general term because most of religion have deity, the God or gods, and then they try to theologize, meaning give certain theology, the doctrine about their gods or their deity. So, another word, not only is theorized, put into certain theory. They have certain system of teachings or doctrines. And whether it's revealed religion or man-made religion, doesn't matter. Either way, both type of religion have certain theology and theories and there are certain doctrines. So theology is usually, like I said, used on the subject of studying the God or gods. While the doctrine it includes everything has to do with that particular religion. So when religion is developed, it has a certain set of theories in, and to understand how the religion is theorized and theolorized and put into certain doctrines, you must understand the origins of religion. Again, we go back to two separate sets of religion by man and made by revelation. And created by culture, meaning again, it's created by man. I said the culture because whoever they invented or developed the establishment of a certain religion. For example, let's go back to the Buddhism. Buddha, he was a son of the king, right? And he was a prince. And he doesn't stand by himself. He was born into the given culture there, and then within the culture, he reacts to the again these terms, the reality and existence. That's the main thing. The main terms when we are looking into the worldview. So, Buddha, as he grows up, he tries to identify himself, ask the question, who am I? Why am I here? That's the ultimate question. And then he reacts with the reality, and then he's thinking about deep thoughts about existence. So thus he is within the culture, and then he isolates himself and gives the time of a deep meditation and comes to a certain enlightenment. So the key to this So that enlightenment, it comes within himself. And then he begins to teach what he was able to be enlightened, and it becomes Buddhism. Actually, it's a philosophy, it's an idea about reality and existence. And then people listen to him and becomes followers, and they again spread that teaching, that doctrine. So, to be accurate, they did not have a theology, but they do have doctrines and theories, because Buddhism does not have God or gods. Even though it was born out of Hinduism background, the culture is Hinduism, but Hinduism, they have multiple different forms of gods, different level of gods. So it's very complex. But some of the ideas in the Buddhism are closely related to the Hinduistic belief. For example, the life cycles itself. Again and again. It's a big circle. So this idea of circle of life is there in both Hinduism and Buddhism. Anyway, so the origin of religion tells what that religion is and why that religion came up. And that certainly helps you to understand their theory and their doctrine. And then, revealed by spirits. When I say the revealed by spirits, I differentiate that spirit to God or gods. For the Christians, us Christians, we believe there's only one God with a capital G. With capital G. And then gods with the small letter G plus S, meaning there are many gods. But these gods are actually these are the spirits. And these spirits are those are supposedly fallen angels. So when I say spirits, other than the Holy Spirit or human spirit, okay, let me explain. Human spirits and the angels are all included in the form of spirit. When you say spirit, it's a personal being, invisible, and usually beyond our space and time. So angels are considered spirits. And there is human spirit that we do not see, but we do have your own spirit. And so when we die, we come out of this body, physical body. This is like the dress that you wear. So you kind of take it off, and the soul and spirit leaves this body. So we do have spirit and soul. We are spirit. But spirits here are the evil, these gods, the fallen angels. So there is a religion that is revealed by this evil spirit, the Satan and his followers. Then we have religion revealed by good God. So now here's a question, which I will not answer. Is Islam? Islam and Judaism, are they revealed by God or the other spirits? Even theologians on both sides, they would have very different, diverse opinions. The answer is either yes or no, but it's not that simple. So that would be the question that is out of this the context of this classroom. So I'll leave it there. Anyway, coming back to the origin of religion, there are three major origins. So either it's going to be started by a human being, or the evil spirit, or good spirit. And usually, when a religion begins by a human being or the evil spirit, they take up these forms. Most popular form of religion that we see in anywhere in the world or any given time of history would be folk religion. And this is local. The people, generally most people without conscience, unconsciously believe in that folk religion. And then they live by these rules. And folk religion usually have certain taboos or jinx or certain superstitions within it. And people abide by, live by those rules without knowing that they are worshiping or believing in a certain religion. So that's usually the characteristic of the folk religion. And many so-called more complex and developed religion comes out of those folk religions, because usually the folk religion is inspired by some of these spirits. The evil spirits provoke or give an idea, or they initiate the belief. So folk religion is embedded deeply in the culture, the folk culture, which you're born into. You don't have choice. So as you are born into a certain culture, they do have different forms of folk religion, and you are to believe it, because it's the culture. And you don't say, as a young person, you don't say, as a baby, you don't say, I'm going to accept this culture, I'm going to reject that culture. You don't do that. You are into the culture, and you do not have that luxury of, or the discernment of being able to choose from which culture you are going to take and which culture you are going to reject. So that's folk religion, and you begin your life into usually the folk culture or tribal religion. Tribal religion is more to the small tribal community. Still, in like Amazon, in Brazil, in Africa, there are some tribes that are distancing themselves from the given modern society. So they still have the tribal, but in old days, many of the society communities were tribal, meaning certain group of people from a few dozen to few hundred lived within a given vicinity, and they were called tribe, and they would have a chief to rule that tribal community. And when that's the kind of society and community, they would have certain tribal religion all believed in. So that's kind of a beginning of a form of religion. Guru is the leader of a certain folk religion or tribal religion or certain cults or certain sects. So Guru is a religious leader who either starts the religion or becomes the next generation leaders. So Guru is different from the priest. Priest usually refers to the religious person. I mean the person of the religion leader who performs full time the ritual. But Guru is the leader of the small kind of religion. Okay, I think time's up, and why don't we stop there and continue this discussion from the next week class. So I'll say goodbye and see you again. Thanks for